Kia ora and welcome to Playmakers Rugby Stories. I'm Karl. This is the show where we delve into the yarns of the people that have made our national game so great. While some stories end in glory, others don't. And that means while titles are the most celebrated, the heart of New Zealand rugby is with the people who are the most passionate, the people who've turned up to their clubs, to their franchises, and been there for their teammates no matter the result. One of those people is James Parsons, the former All Blacks and Blues hooker. James, thank you very much for joining us. Is that the way that you see it? It's all about dedication to the cause in this game?
Would have liked a few trophies, that's for sure. I suppose that's one thing that you crave, and I suppose that's what it's about, is that passion and dedication to getting that trophy. And pretty competitive man, and one of the biggest reasons why I suppose I've hung around is because I've wanted those trophies. Wasn't to be, my body failed me in the end, but yeah, look, I'm pretty dedicated to all the teams I've played for, you know, Takapuna, Harbour, Blues and the All Blacks, and yeah, it's something that, you know, I'm quite proud of, to be remembered for that loyalty and that passion and the dedication that I've given everything of myself to every jersey I've represented. Well,
let's go there immediately then. You know, why did you stick around through that entire time? Instead of going overseas, I'm sure that there were offers.
Yeah, look, I think people that are close to me know how competitive I am. And you know, I'm the sort of guy that in backyard cricket or anything, I won't leave until I've won. it's quite a, I suppose, a bad trait in that thing. Or if it's anything in mini golf, I'll play another round until I've won. And I think it's the same there. Like, I didn't want to leave my teams, as in Harbour and the Blues, until they were in a position that I was really proud of, and I could leave them in a position of health. And you know, I was hanging out for those titles, and I was really proud of where Harbour got to. We were in a really bad state, obviously, when I was coming through, and you know, we got to that semi-final in 17, and you know, in that premiership era, and we were putting ourselves in a place of strength. Unfortunately, obviously, last year the boys fell down, but I was proud of where we got to there, and really proud of where the Blues are tracking. And I suppose that was one of the biggest disappointments, and why I really fought hard to try and get back on the field before announcing my retirement this year, is because I genuinely believe we're title contenders, and I wanted to be, I suppose, at the glory end, because I have committed a hell of a lot of myself, sacrificed a hell of a lot, and committed a lot to the Blues, and wanted to be there, I suppose, for the cherry on top, which is those titles you speak of.
So what's it been like after 14 years as a semi-pro or fully professional rugby player to wake up in the morning now, after the concussion ended your career earlier than you'd want to? What's it like waking up and not knowing that you're not going to see the lads?
I suppose I thought it would be hard, but it's been weirdly not. Like, I thought once the rugby started, I'd really struggle, but I haven't missed the rugby as much as I thought I would. And I think probably for me, had my body not failed me, I think it would have been harder. But I've always believed control the controllables, and because I physically literally cannot play the game anymore, I just don't have the opportunity to miss the game, because I know that I actually can't play it. So it hasn't been as hard as I thought it was going to be, which I suppose is a blessing. It's a positive out of a negative. Yes, I've had to retire because of concussion, but out of that, I'm not actually allowed to, I suppose, miss playing, because you know, I physically can't. So it's one blessing in disguise, I suppose, out of a bad situation. And the best thing is I haven't died, so the boys are still there for me, and I've still got a great connection and bond with the lads, and helping out here and there with a few players, and connecting with the coaches around strategies, and also picking their brains, so that I've got a bit of common sense to talk some sense on our podcast during the week as well.
Yeah, and so I suppose you'll be bugging them. You're a code head.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
There's going to be plenty of messages being sent their way.
Oh yeah, there's but I have probably stepped back a little bit as I'm getting more and more, I suppose, living my day-to-day life and getting my medication right, so that I can, you know, settle these headaches down. I'm still getting headaches day to day, so I'm still finding my way through this concussion and trying to live my life, I suppose, a normal life, and managing that. So finding that balance with the specialist. So I've got to manage that. Once I think I've got the hang of that, then I'll probably try and pester them a little bit more, but I'm not quite there yet. So once I've got that, no doubt the phone will be going red hot.
You talked a little bit about the concussion. How does it affect you at the moment? What is it?
It's just the headaches and like they're all day, every day, and I suppose it's just really annoying. And it's just, I suppose it's a hard one to explain. Like it's something you just learn to live with. But the specialist that I'm working with is, around those medications, is trying to get the balance right and just working towards getting rid of them. And there is, like I believe, you just got to remain positive and that there is an end goal and you will get rid of them and I will get back to full health, and that's my main focus. And that means that I've got really limited exercise at the moment and a strict regime, so I'm really focused on a good healthy diet and that limited exercise and controlling all the controllables that I can to give myself the best opportunity to heal as fast as I can. So yeah, it's a little bit niggly at times, but it doesn't restrict me as much. I still have the ability to come and do some work and also just have some time with family and friends, but there are times where you do get a little bit tired and a little bit fatigued, and then you just got to know that your body's just telling you that you need to rest and things. But it's all in all, life's pretty good, and I'm really grateful for the extra time I'm getting to spend with my family and new daughter. So, there's a lot more, bigger issues out in the world that people are facing. So, as I say, I'm just trying to take a positive attitude to it, and I think the more positive I can be, hopefully it gives me a better outlook and then I can heal as fast as I can.
You've long been an advocate for mental skills work. Has that been a major help for you to get through to where you are now?
Yeah, look, I think mental skills probably took my career from, like, it was always going from, when I was behind Kevy and Tom McCartney, and you go from the hunter, and it's a little bit easier. You're the unknown, and you're trying to go for the starting role, and you sort of, it's a little bit easier. You're motivated. You're like, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that, and all of a sudden, Kevy retired, Tom left overseas, and then I became the hunted. And it was like, oh, like now I've got me being chased, and I was like, oh, this is different. All of a sudden it's my jersey to lose, or not my jersey, but like you're expected to start every week, and it just changed my mindset a little bit. And John Kerwin and Eason Athewa sent me to a sports psychologist, and Kylie Wilson in 2013, and it not only changed my life off the field, but changed I think my direction of my career, and obviously debuted for the All Blacks in 2014. And I put a lot of it down to what she taught me around the mental skills, around meditation, first and foremost, just daily meditation around, grounding yourself, controlling your breathing, and just sort of, being able to calm yourself. And it takes a long period, and that's why I say I started in 2013, but I still wouldn't have got the hang of it. I don't think you ever get the hang of it, but if you make it intentional every day, that I can walk around now, and you can almost do it on the run just to calm yourself. And that meditation was one, and then the other one was sort of positive visualization of me in a rugby sense. So like seeing myself visualize a full game, parts of my game, training. Making a mistake and reacting to it. So one of my weaknesses before seeing Karl was, if I made one mistake, I'd show emotion, so I'd be really angry at myself, but then I'd make multiple mistakes after that because I couldn't let it go. So one of my big visualization tools was I'd visualize making a mistake and then reacting positively to one, acknowledging it, like without emotion. It would just be like, I'd put my hand up and I'd, move on, say I'm not straight or something. And then it would be, then my next part of my visualization would be me doing something well, like a good scrum or a good tackle or a good, so that, and then it almost becomes, you're in your subconscious that, you've seen it, you've done it, and it gives you a calming influence when you're out on the game or you're out on the training field. And you almost go into, I don't know, it just, you go in like a robotic mode and it just happens. And yeah, things just happen without you even having to think about it. It's like instinctive. And it took me a while to get used to it. Like I started with scripts, Like it was really like, not cringe, but like you'd write up these scripts, like game scripts or part of my game, and then I'd have to voice record them.
All right.
Because it's really hard to just sit there and close your eyes and imagine parts of the game without other thoughts coming into your head. So you'd write up scripts of your game, and then you'd voice record them, and then you'd put your earphones in, and then because it's easier to focus on a voice. But whereas to the end of my career, I got to a point where I could, sit there and think about it and visualize it, because you get better as it goes along. But if it was a big game, sometimes I'd get nervous and I'd go back to a script, so you could go in between. But all that sort of stuff, I'd do 3 positive visualizations throughout the week. Some would be training based, and then obviously the day of the game would be a game based one. But all of that, I think, led to me getting better as a player. Like everyone sort of said, oh, you're getting better as you get older. And I honestly put it down to that mental skills work that I did with Kylie Wilson throughout all of that. Like I spoke to you about the Harbour flick pass.
James Parsons on the loose!
Everyone goes, that's just not in your game. And I agree, it's not. I still don't know where it came from. But it's that instinctive, like I used to visualise things like that, because you watch the Dane Coleses. Well, I watch the Dane Coleses and, Asafo Mills and Cody Taylors, and there's parts of their game, I'm jealous of, because I'm like, how do they do that? Like that's. But then I started visualising it. I'm like, why can't I do those sorts of things? Why can't I be able to do that? So I started visualising it, and then parts of those skill sets started coming into my game, and I started being able to achieve them purely because I was visualising it and seeing it. And I'd get out on the field, and it would start positive thoughts that I'd start to believe in, but then I'd start to just instinctively do it without even knowing it. And
without even training it?
Without even training it.
And was that a thing that got you through to where you were in your career? Because you didn't come out of high school with a huge amount of fanfare. You weren't one of these super prodigies. You went and made your way up through the Takapuna system. You played 70 club games in a time when most people barely play club football at all. And that kind of learning must have helped you get to where you needed to go.
Yeah, I suppose my gift was my work ethic and my discipline, and I suppose my chip on my shoulder. Like I was told throughout school I was too small. One coach told me I'd never fit into Auckland Rugby. I wasn't the right mould, and I just let all that stuff. I just hold on to that a little bit, and I let that motivate me. And but yeah, I certainly had no fanfare. I didn't make rep teams or anything. I think the first rep team was Canterbury 19s I made when I left school. I spent 1 year down at Canterbury Uni because my sister was down there, so I just went down there out of school. So I went down there for university, not rugby, and played for Christchurch Rugby Club, and then made 19s, and I was in that squad, and I mainly played for the Cantabrians, which was coached by Mark Hammett. Anyway, I started playing there. We played Harbour, and then made my way back to Harbour the next year, and played for Harbour, made the academy, and still even then I was more focused on uni, and then from then on I had a couple of good games and managed to slip into Harbour, and that's when I started thinking, oh, okay, this is a chance here.
And then you finally got the call up, and what should have been the best week of your life, it became even greater, to the Blues, that is.
Yeah, well, I've been chipping away at Harbour for a number of years, and I never thought it was, going to come. Like, I think they called up Ash Dixon the year before as third hooker, and I actually, the year before, I'd went across to the Force with John Mitchell, and I'd been offered a 3-year contract over there, and I turned that down. It just wasn't right, and I don't know, my gut, didn't want to leave New Zealand, and so I came back, even though I didn't have a super contract, and wanted to give another crack. And then it was over in Fiji for my wedding, and a lot of the Blues boys were over there, and I was hovering around waiting for this call, and they all knew they'd had their contracts, they'd had their call, and because this is back in the day where you didn't have the 3-year contracts. It was, you'd get the call, I think it was year contracts or whatever, and everyone's had their call, and I'm like, oh God, another year, I've missed out, how great. And then my call finally came at like 5 o'clock the day before the wedding, and I saw that it was Pat Lamb's call, and I thought, late in the day, it's going to be bad news again,
Yeah.
He's like, and he dragged out the corner. He's like, yeah, and we're going to offer you a contract this year. Oh, mate, I was just so stoked. And I remember I was like, this is the best day of my life. And he was like, oh, well, at least you got a day to say that, because tomorrow better be the best day of your life. You not say that around your wife. And I was just like, mate, I was so happy because I had all my family, all my best mates. And it was just such an exciting time, And I know you're not supposed to see the bride night before the wedding, but we'd already split up. But I went and found my wife and told her, and like it was just an awesome moment, awesome time. And then the funniest thing is we went out to an island after that, and she was gutted because I just trained the house down the whole time. I was just training the whole week. I was like, nah, I'm going back to pre-season. I need to win the fitness test. And there was like this hill. I was just running up and down the hill pretty much the whole time we were out at this island, which was obviously pretty funny. But I just always knew that, I wasn't gifted with a lot of talent, but if I could turn up and win fitness tests and be strong in the gym, at least like that could be my edge, I suppose.
And within a couple of years, you then had another call-up. You were over with the Barbarians in the UK, and was it quite unexpected? Next thing you know, you've been offered an All Blacks jersey. Yeah,
well, I suppose I've got to thank JK again. Like, he was coach of the Barbars, and he knew I was pretty keen to play for the All Blacks, and he said to me, I'm going to give you an opportunity to play international footy. And, Barbars is normally a bit of a boozy trip. And he goes, I'll give you a chance to play international rugby and put your hand up. And so I took it pretty seriously. And I was mocked a little bit during the week because the Wallabies, we were playing the Wallabies at Twickenham. And yeah, I still enjoyed the week, but like I let the boys know, I was like, oh, this is my chance to sort of let the selectors know I can handle international footy. So like I was pretty focused that week, and and had an all right game. And then I think the All Blacks were playing in Chicago against the USA team, and unfortunately Nathan Harris did his ankle, and boys were winding me up. They're like, oh, lucky you took the game seriously. You're going to get the call up. And I was like, oh, no. And we were going to play Leicester or something the next day. So we're on the bus. And as they do, we were playing a club side, and I wasn't going to play that game because I'd played most of the minutes. So we were enjoying ourselves, and we had a traditional court session at the hotel. Yeah. And Adam Thompson was running it, and so it was phones off in the middle, and so no one could get hold of us, and it was a locked court session and no coaches. And I think Darren Shannon ran JK, and he was trying to get hold of myself, Matt Todd and Colin Slade. Couldn't get hold of any of us. And anyway, long story short, he's ringing around all of us, gets hold of JK. JK can't open the door, and Adam Thompson's like, nah, not allowed in. Anyway, eventually come out a couple of hours later and found out it was just, it was pretty special. And
yeah, and you eventually were going to get your test debut against Scotland.
Yeah, I was. I found out, so I ran into the boys had played England. That week was my first week in camp, and I found out the night after they'd beaten England, and the night of the test, I'd run into Steve in the lift after that test. We got back to the hotel, and I was going down to get Kevy and I chocolate milk of all things from the dairy, and came back in the lift, and Steve and his wife were in the lift, and I was just like looking at the ground, and he was like, "Are you ready to go?" And I was just like, "Oh yeah, yep." And he was like, "Nah, next week you ready to go?" And I was like, "Yep." Like I didn't quite know what he was getting at, and I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay, well you're starting." And I was like, "What?" And I was just, he's like, "You're starting versus Scotland." I was like, "Oh, don't joke with me, like please don't joke with me, like that's please don't do that." And he was like, "Nah, not joking." And then I looked at his wife. I was like, "Is he joking?" And she was like, "He's not joking." And then they got out of the lift, and then I was so like perplexed. I was like, "Man, did that happen, or is it?" And then I didn't want to get excited, so I came back. I spoke to Kevy. I was like, told him. He was like, "Nah, man, you'll be starting. He wouldn't do that to you." So I went down, rang my mum and dad and wife, and I was like, "Oh, I think you probably need to get over here, like I think I'm playing." And I was like, wow. And I was like, actually, no, hold off. I need to wait till Tuesday till they name the thing. So I was real nervous waiting till Tuesday. This was Saturday night, so I was waiting all the way till Tuesday, and eventually obviously got named on the Tuesday. But I just didn't know, like, it was just such a...
face.
Yeah, I know, but it was just like, it was such a bizarre way to find out. But then he named me, obviously, and I was just, really super pumped. And I was surprised because I'd actually had a few stuff-ups my first week in camp, obviously leaving... I left Richie at the hotel.
Hey, take us... What? What did you do?
I left, so we get given buddies, and because I was like new into the group, like I came in with Matt, Todd and Slatey, but they'd already been in the team multiple times, and so Skip was given to me, and like, you know, because he's supposed to look after the newest. So anyway, so we came down together out of the meeting, and he's inundated with fans, and I'm like, the first time I'd got on the bus, I was like slow and I dawdled, and then I was left to sit on like the seats at the front, the stairs, because like I wasn't going to go sit at the back or anything. So I was left less, because everyone just crams in to get in those front seats if you don't have many caps. So I was left to sit on the stairs. So this time I was like, nah, I'm getting on there so I can have a seat. So I got on there, and then I was like, well, I came down with Rico, so he would have gone to the back, and they're like, everyone here? And I was like, oh, yep, sweet as. Just didn't turn around. Like, I don't know why I didn't turn around, like, of all things. Didn't turn around. Anyway, so we're off the bus, and then we get there, and everyone's like, we get to training, like, where's Richie, where's Richie? And I was like, mate, my heart dropped. I was just like, where is he? Like, looking around, petrified, and I was like, he's not there. Literally, and like, Rito and Sam White, like, were just into me. They're like, oh, mate, first week you've left Skip at the hotel, like, and I was just like, because I like don't ever like making mistakes, but you don't ever want to make a mistake like that. But anyway, like, I swear to God, like 5 minutes later, it wasn't a big bus ride, but it would have been, I don't know, 2 Ks. He just comes jogging around the corner, apologising to me. He's just like, sorry, mate, that was sloppy from me. And I was just like, mate, I'm so sorry to you. And I suppose it's just the measure of him.
The other career highlights that we could look at for you, one would have to be captaining the Blues against the British Irish Lions.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big win.
It was just the atmosphere, full house, the whole lead up. And I'm a bit of a, you know, traditionalist and a history buff, and you know, one, to be captain, but the ability to, you know, be able to tell your grandkids and stuff to say that you captain a team to beat the British and Irish Lions is, you know, is pretty awesome. And to get it done, and you know, like I can sit here now and still sort of just feel like hear the noise and see Ehire score that try. You know, I can hear it, you know, anytime I want. You know, it's just the most amazing feeling. That the roof, if it had a roof, like it was just amazing. Like that Eden Park full house roar for the Blues. It's just the most amazing time I've ever had in a Blues jersey, and it's just something I'll never forget. That week, and then just being able to celebrate with the lads, because obviously had a bit of a break because of that tour after that. It was a great time to be a Blues man.
Now, after this, we'll be showing the game that you've chosen as your great game that you wanted to play on Sky following this in the throwback night of footy. Yeah,
it's a good one to remember.
57 points to 10 was the win, but I suppose the big moment was your intercept try.
James Parsons! Tell me he can't make it! Oh, yes, he can!
You had 50 metres to go. You were allegedly onside. And you were definitely onside.
About 3 metres onside.
Yeah, and you took off. What were you thinking when you took off?
Well, I couldn't believe he passed it, to be fair, because I sort of just sprinted out to sort of show face and sort of thought, oh, he won't pass it, and then he just flung it, and then I got it and almost got a fright, and then just pinned the ears. And I thought someone might come behind. I thought, oh, well, no one's really in support, so I've just got to go. And then as the line got closer and I didn't really hear anyone, and I could see the jersey coming from that side, I was like, as it got closer, I was like, oh, I'm in here. I actually couldn't believe it. I genuinely couldn't believe it. And I was so buggered after that. I think, you know, I looked up and I got subbed straight afterwards. I was so happy because I was absolutely poked.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was fond memories, and it was so good for our community. Like, beating Auckland means so much to our community, and it was a really proud day for our union.
Yeah, amazing day. James, thank you very much for joining us on Playmakers Rugby Stories. We'll really enjoy this game and, of course, this interview. The Harbour versus Auckland 57-10 win.